Station Gang. Welcome to Ink and Insights. We are on episode 7. As always, our weekly comic book breakdown show, highlight reel, all that good stuff. Celebrating the issues that we dug most from Marvel, DC, and Indies from the past week. As always, I'm joined by my illustrious, beautiful co-host who's rocking a crazy killer new t-shirt. Bro, show that off real quick. Look at the Killer Kirby logo, y'all. So great, man. Gotta
The
love it.
major
E, how you
Kirby
doing
league
tonight,
right there.
brother? Yeah, right.
I'm doing fantastic, man. So happy to have another Wednesday here where we can sit down, talk comics, and have a good time.
Yeah, dude. It's been a good couple weeks. Both like the new releases we got this Wednesday and the books from last week. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels like 2024 is ramping up, and like we're ending out on a good note. We've had some highs and lows,
Yeah.
but we're ending right.
I feel like we always get strong stuff here in the last quarter, so I'm excited to see what these next couple of months are going to hold. Real quick in the chat, we got our boy Rogue Station, Rogue, our boy James Phelps Station.
What up,
Y'all,
Phelps?
hope everybody's doing well. Thank y'all for coming through and joining us this Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, real quick, do you have you had something you wanted to show off as far as I guess our collection selection?
Maybe I got a couple things that I can show off here real quick.
Man.
So last weekend,
New arrivals?
me and my kid went out to San Francisco and Oakland, and we went to the Cartoon Art Museum, which if you haven't been, it's way smaller than you would anticipate for a museum, but it was still really, really awesome. Like we saw a lot of really cool like original like sketch images from like the 1930s for things like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff, really cool comic book related stuff too. Like we saw like Spain Rodriguez original art, Prince Valiant original pages, man, which like incredibly have held up over time, like really, really fantastically. So it was a really good time. We had a lot of fun like looking and kind of like looking over like the history of cartoons. But when we were out there, we stopped at a comic shop in Oakland real quick, and I got a couple things that I thought were worthwhile to show off here. First and foremost, let me just get it out of the Mylar here. So I picked up this from Silver Sprockets, probably most famously known for the Eisner Award-winning Pee Pee Poo Poo book. This is Skin Deep, and it jumped out at me because like I'm trying to like show this. If the light hits it just right, you can see the quality that this like that this shows, because this isn't a regular size comic book. Like for comparison, here's Helena Windhorn in comparison to this, so it's like just a little bit bigger than like a regular like mini comic, but the quality on this is fantastic. So Silver Sprockets put this out. It's a little bit of a like a horror one shot that they put out, but man, like I saw it on stands and it just kind of called out to me, so I had to see what this was all about. So this was really awesome.
That looks super dope.
When I was over in that shop, I also, it's criminal of me that I didn't have this, but I had to pick up Street Angel here by Jim Rugg.
What?
Yeah, so I finally have something that's not a Grand Design book in my collection from Jim Rugg, so I really appreciated picking that up. And last but not least here, I've been waiting on something. In fact, it was kind of like my belated birthday present that's still on its way. But Chris Ware has a collection that's coming out of his Acme Novelty books, which is really like his sketchbooks, his ideas. And he has like 3 volumes that are coming out. But as I wait for that, I picked up Rusty Brown here, which is a huge freaking massive tome of a book here. But if you don't know Chris Ware, his artwork, it's very comic strippy. Let me see if I can get this on camera. Yeah, it's so good, so clean. His visuals are stunning. His narratives are really just fantastic. Really, I don't know, it's just really great slice of life kind of stuff. I've read a couple of his other stories here. Particularly, he has an anthology that's put out here called Building Stories, which when you get it, you think it's this massive book, but in reality, you open it up and it's 9 books in different formats. Like one is a flip book, one is a traditional comic, one of them is like a puzzle. Like it's really cool. It's really inventive kind of stuff that's outside of the scope of a traditional comic that you get. So I just thought those were worthy of kind of showing off and giving some shout outs and some love to people like, Jim Rugg and Chris Ware and Flo Woolley for creating some awesome looking books that made me drop some dollars.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Seeing the Spain Rodriguez pictures you sent were pretty sick, man. Definitely wish I could have seen those in person. Was that your favorite of like all the pieces of art you got to see throughout the day?
Oh man, like as far as comic book stuff, yeah, the Spain Rodriguez stuff
Yeah.
really definitely like stood out. But like I would be hard pressed to say it wasn't stuff like seeing like TMNT animation cells and stuff like that because I grew up. I mean,
Yes.
it holds such
Right?
a heart. And like Batman the Animated Series too, they had original animation cells of that too. Like
No
those, just like,
way.
yeah, they resonate so hard with me.
Wow,
So
dude.
like those definitely took the cake. But seeing everything else, like it was definitely a worthwhile trip for sure.
Oh yeah. So what again? The official name of the museum, just in case anybody's out there in the Bay Area and wants to check it out.
So it should be the Cartoon Art Museum in San Francisco.
All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, great
Yeah, good
stuff,
stuff.
dude.
If you're
Yep.
in the
Yep.
area, go
Yeah.
check that out. It's definitely worthwhile.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, great start on the show, dude. Cool stuff. That Skin Deep looks super cool. I love all the green and just like the color palette. You know what I mean? And just the way that looks. That's right
Well,
up my
and
alley.
even more importantly, shout out to a shop like Cape and Cowl Comics for having an entire section for nothing but local artists. Like that's
Yeah.
that's amazing, right? It's not just about Marvel and DC and the indies, right? It's about supporting these, people who self-publish their books or put their books out through like real indie publishers, man. That it's awesome to see a shop put that forward and put it right in front of our faces because it got me to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you say that, hold on one second.
Oh, maybe our boys got something.
Yeah, I do have something actually. That you completely triggered my memory here. Let me go solo. I'm on a roll. Time to go solo. Just speaking of shops, dude. This was on the shelf in my shop, right? And I had no idea what it was. My shop is located on the college campus, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. It's got one of the best art programs on the East Coast, right? And so I was like, I picked this up and I started looking through it, dude. The art in this, guys, absolutely insane, right? And I was like, who did this? Where did this come from? And he's like, oh, dude, that's from a 19-year-old VCU art student. They self-published this bad boy.
Dude, that's
Right?
insane.
Yeah, and it's called Leftovers. It's by Jordan Beatty, or Leftover by Jordan Beatty. I wish I had more information to give y'all because I looked them up, and it's a female. She, her. I looked her up and trying to locate her just to tell her how much I loved it because it was unreal. And the story's a little rough, but it's still very cool and emotional, and you can tell it's very personal to her, and the artwork is just incredible. It's like you said, I showed it to you and said Becky Cloonan, absolutely, and I get like Daniel Warren Johnson vibes, but just in tremendous use of color throughout. So yeah, I definitely wanted to. And like you said, dude, my shop just threw this up on the shelf. They had like 2 or 3 other copies, but I just wanted to shout them out for supporting a local artist, and shout out to Jordan Beatty, dude. Keep this name in y'all's register because I really think they're super talented. I hope to see more things from them. I'm going to be on the lookout for issue 2, which the shop owner said was coming down the road, but they just got this one published. But that just goes to show you, like you said, dude, you saying you shouting out the shops for looking out for the local artists definitely made me think of that. So
They have to, dude. And like it harkens back to a time like I don't know about you, like back in the day though, I used to be a big like vinyl junkie, right? And I would love going to like the record shops, like before the days of even like, iPods and MP3s. That was my jam. And you'd always find such interesting stuff in those shops, man. Like and you would find, comic books like this kind of stuff and the stuff that you were showing off too back in the day. So I don't know, man. It's like I feel like comic book shops, when they do it like that and they do it right, it's like the last I don't know, the last vestige of this kind of
it really is.
collectability. Yeah,
Absolutely, though. It really is. Real quick, before we get into our new books of the week, let's just hit the chat up. We had our boy Simpleton come through with some money. I don't have any of that. Amen, brother. That's how I feel.
join the club, dude.
Every Wednesday. Our brother Verno Station, man. What's up?
What up,
Hope you're
Vern?
doing well. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, thank y'all for coming through. Hope everybody's doing well this Wednesday. All right, bro, let's get into it, man. Let's head on over to the House of Ideas. Do you wanna kick things off for us today? Aliens
I
versus
would love
Avengers
to.
2. Absolutely. Take it away,
Yes.
brother.
All right. Aliens versus Avengers #2 by Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic. Great, like fantastic duo, right? When these two get together,
Yeah.
I think that they really do some special things. This issue, dude, this and the first couple issues of this series so far have been the most Hickman-y books that we've gotten recently. Like we talked last week a little bit about our trepidations, I'll say, with the book Wolverine Revenge, because it just didn't feel grandiose and it didn't feel like the things that we were. I mean, maybe our expectations were a little bit out of line. This absolutely does, and it does so in a really weird way. And I'll kind of get to what I mean by that, right? But talking about the book specifically, we're dealing with a future-esque landscape of the Marvel universe where, all of our heroes traditionally that we know of, they're older, right? They're elderly, and the Earth has been overtaken by xenomorphs at this point, and it's all about survival for them. It's basically like we're working with the last city of the Marvel universe and just trying their best to keep the xenomorphs out. What they've come to realize is that basically it's a failing battle at this time. There's no way that they're going to make it out. There's nothing that they can do, and Tony Stark has developed a plan to get them out of there, which is basically the fact that the building that they're in is really not just a building, but it's actually it's basically a ship that's designed to be able to get them off of the planet, sustain them long periods of time, and get them off to a new planet that they can terraform. What we don't know, though, is that there's an entire team of other individuals that are already out there still trying to save lives, battle back the xenomorphs, like do everything that needs to happen, but like be heroes, basically, right? So we get to the point where this is happening. We find out the team that's out there, which is basically led by Captain America, who basically, for all intents and purposes, everyone thought was dead. They're like, there's no way, I don't care who it is. They go out into the wilderness. They go out and like have to traverse the landscape. There's no coming back from that. But lo and behold, Cap comes back.
And dude, real quick, just to interrupt you, I love the dramatic fashion. They send out all these war machines, right? We can't take them with us. They're going out there. They're going to implode the wall, make sure none of the aliens get in, right? And the war machines go out there and explode, and they do their job. One didn't explode, or one did, there's a part of the wall didn't fall. Like, what is it? What's down there? And then you see like the outline of them at first, and then you see him like leading just a charge of people. It's such a great moment, and so true to I think both of these guys and their eternal like roundabout dance that they do. You know what I mean? Whether it's Civil War or what have you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect setup for what I was going to say too. So Cap is eternally Cap, right? He is ever the survivor. He will fight until his last breath, and he will get the people back to the town, right, or to the city, whatever you want to call it, right? Tony is the survivalist and the futurist, and he will not let anything basically get in the way of making sure that his plan works without fail. Like Steve is like, hey, if there's a 1% chance that my plan will make it, we're going to see it through, and I'm going to make sure that I am that 1% that makes sure that you all live. Tony is like, if there's a 1% chance that I will fail, I'm not taking that chance. We need to get the heck out of here. And I love that Bruce in this is kind of like the catalyst between both of them, right? Like he's on Tony's side. He's just like, yeah, we've developed all these things. We can do all of this. But in the same vein, I'm not going to let my brother die, right? I'm not going to abandon him and just leave him there. So he hulks out and goes and starts taking on the xenomorphs along with the team of Avengers, dude. It was beautiful. It was epic in the way that we don't get from like Marvel comics nowadays. And again, the team that we're given here with this comic is the same team that handled Secret Wars absolutely brilliantly. And they're doing so here. Now, the thing that really amazes me about this, though, is that they're delivering this story. And if you're telling me, oh, we're going to have an Aliens versus Avengers book, I'm going to be like, okay, you're going to lean heavy into the Marvel lore, and you're going to lean heavy into like all the relationships. Honestly, this doesn't. If anything, and I don't want to spoil some of the ending things that happen in this leans more heavily into the alien lore than anything. Like we get the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. We get the androids, Bishop, David, Rook, all of your favorites, right? We get the nature of those androids. We get the nature of the evolution of the xenomorphs, and it's all handled beautifully. Like, it's all handled with such love and care that you can tell that Hickman has to be a fan of everything that Ridley and Cameron did and H.R. Geiger's work. It's just awesome. It's so much more an Alien book than I ever thought that we would get, and maybe that's why I'm enjoying it so much. But man, this has been it's been a really fantastic ride so far with 2 issues, man. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, dude, it was incredible. I just like just to speak on the Tony Hulk thing. I love how Bruce's head is kind of with Tony, but his heart is with Steve. You know, and that was such a brilliant scene. And then when Tony launches, I love the scene down here in the bottom right where you know, Miles and them are comforting Tony after he's made his decision. It's just, and it's so true to, you know, like we said, both of them, you know, you can see Steve rallying people in the streets and trying to forget no one, and Tony being more clinical and cold and calculated about it, and having like a plan of building a city within a city, and you know, a life raft essentially. But you know, 1,400 souls, I think, on this thing, and it's still very bleak. You know, you know, he says yes, that, you know, they're not normal, ordinary souls, but still, it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, man. And I just to touch on also what you said about Hickman and, you know, being a fan of the franchise. I like we're talking about in the back chat. I could watch Ribic draw these engineers in this alien world all day. I think he's the perfect artist for it, more so than like the Marvel stuff almost. You know what I mean? Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And just to watch, like, you know, rain down symbiotes on them, and those scenes are extremely powerful. And the etherealness that he's able to bring out, and the way he works with light and shadow, I think is very conducive to that world, man. And I think it's something he does so well, is like one of those epic painter type artists that he's really known for. So I think, like, you know, the more I know, Rogue, like our homie Rogue said, man, issue 3 isn't coming out till February, right? It's gonna be next year, and we're gonna be talking about the conclusion of this amazing run. But like, at the same time, like in Secret Wars, man, let that boy cook. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be worth it in hindsight. We're going to have to struggle through it here in the here and now, but we will look back at it with on hindsight with love and respect, I think, for sure. But yeah, I'm sure timing and the delays are going to be a nightmare. I can't even how many.
I was going to say, when you said that we're going to be talking about when we're talking about the finale, and you said next year, I think you're being a little generous, because if we have a 5-month delay between, or I shouldn't even say delay, 5 months between issue 2 and issue 3, issue 4, I don't know how long the series is supposed to go. I would assume 5 or 6 issues, so they can kind of like build up for the trade. If that's the case, 2020, early 2026, maybe,
right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're right, though. I mean, we'll see. But regardless, that's, those are the breaks when it comes to being a comic book fan. You know what I mean? Like, we struggle through these things. I just, I have, obviously with a team of this caliber and the way they proved themselves in the past, we know that they're not going to switch it up on us. We know that they're not going to change artists, or so, we have that to look forward to. But so far, I feel like the quality has been fantastic through 2 issues. Really blown me away, man. Was more than this series was not on my radar at all initially when it got announced, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm not as big of a fan as most people are with the Aliens franchise, but regardless, I do enjoy it, and I am a fan of it, just not a big one. But this has been a delight, dude. And I'll be here in February, one way or the other.
Well, here's the crazy thing. This book was absolutely on my radar, and when I saw it hit solicits, I straight up laughed at it. I was like, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. I cannot believe oh, what's that? Wait a minute. Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic? All right, I'll take a peek. I'll find out what's going on. I'll see. I'll dip my toes in the water.
We have to assume it was Hickman's baby, right? Like, it was his idea, and he threw it at him because they had. I mean, how do you think that went down?
I'm
because you
sure. I
don't
mean,
like
I'm
this.
sure it was a Marvel initiative, right? Because they've been pushing 20th Century Fox properties pretty darn heavy, like the Wolverine
Yeah,
versus
true.
Predator and things like that. And Hickman's basically just their dude, where they're like, "You got an idea for this?" And I'm sure, like the dudes, I'm sure Hickman's got ideas for just about anything that they put out there. So I don't know. It feels very Hickman-y, so I appreciate that. So it's hard to tell whether or not it was his idea or it was not like a Marvel initiative, though.
Yeah, I don't know. He just thinking back on Secret Wars and like how that was such a organic thing with him, and you know what I mean, and
Hmm.
like all the years that got developed. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely recommend through 2 issues, Aliens vs. Avengers. Y'all check it out.
absolutely.
All
And
right,
take your time with
all
it too,
right.
because we got nothing but time till February.
Exactly. Yeah. Moving on, guys. The Ultimates #6, man. This book just keeps getting better and better. Loved 4, loved 5. 6 was amazing, right? The payoff, the team in action, everything we've been wanting to see for a minute now. But a payoff in a lot of ways that we weren't expecting. Dennis Camp writing this bad boy, Juan Frigeri on artwork, Federico Blee as colors, and Travis Lanham doing the letters. Great team. I think it's been that same team throughout for every issue, doing a great job on this, man. Like I said, 4 and 5
Yep.
have been two of my favorite books from Marvel this year, single issue standalones, and this one was no different. Essentially, we got all our team. We have activated the Ultimates Network, as they say, right? We have a location where they have superhuman prisoners, and because the Ultimates have been shaking up the system, they're scheduled to execute these superhuman prisoners the next day, right? But the Ultimates are going to stop that from happening. So, led by Iron Lad, they blast into what they think is like this, and I love how casually he's talking about it. They might have a superhuman asset or two lying around that we'll have to and they're
Yeah.
very cocky, very confident, right? Like, given who these people are and what they've done, I think like Hulk says, like, uh, I really want to make it a protected fight, but I get it. We're gonna get in, get out. We're the heroes. Save the hurt people and beat up on the bad guys. They get in there, and it is a entirely different story than what they think it is. First of all, it's not a prison. Hulk is in essentially set a death trap for them, and in the city of Kunlun, dude. Like, and this
Dude.
is another. We'll get into it. This is another brilliant callback to Matt Fraction comics with the Immortal Iron Fist run with Brubaker. But yeah, he's pulled them off the map where they can't teleport out. They can't access outside help, right? They're essentially off the board. If it wasn't for Reed Richards and Doom doing everything he could back at home, they all would have died there. They all would have perished there. But yeah, essentially, Hulk is waiting, and he's waiting with his 7 immortal weapons. Now, like I said, this is a callback to Fraction's Immortal Iron Fist, which we had the 7 capital cities of heaven, and we had a tournament where all these different fighters from these capital cities would fight, and the Immortal Iron Fist was involved in this one. Much like you see in Fraction and Aha's Iron Fist, like all these the golden eye gouge and all these like patented moves, you saw that same thing that Camp was doing in here. So I just love that that he's incorporating like that world. Burning dove chop, strike of the silkworm's teeth. You get the same moves here with some Hulk's moves, right? And I love how there's in this comic there's the Hiroshima levels, right? Like he gives us a scale of like how bad they're getting their ass whooped. But yeah, and like I said, we have some of the same cats. Fat Cobra shows up in this one. We got the Bride of 9 Spiders is the Bride of 9 World Breakers. Some of these same characters gets transformed. So I thought that was super cool, just to see like that world kind of transposed. And obviously he's a big fan of Fraction and everything he's done. So I just love that, as am I. But yeah, I just again with the dialogue, right? I wonder if Gandhi ever felt this way. And the way like Hulk's quotables throughout this fight are just so cold. Wasp gets eaten by Fat Cobra at one point. Is I don't want to ruin it, but things are dire. Our girl almost
Yeah.
gets beheaded. Luckily, Doom is able to, transport them out right at the very end. But you know, from here on out, our heroes have all been laid low. We don't know honestly if all of them are alive going into the next issue, and we don't know what the future is from here. Like this was this was an ultimate death trap. They're lucky they got out of there alive. They we thought we were making some headway, right? We were assembling our team. We had all these feel good issues. We thought like we were coming together. Iron Lad had started this issue. I've cracked into their network. Don't ask me how. I'm a genius. You're welcome. Right? Like he had so much confidence going into this fight. And we came out of it just battered and bruised at best. And it's going to be hard to pick up the pieces and move on from here. If it wasn't for Doom, we would all be dead. So thank God for Doom. Eric, you're welcome. But dude, did you read this? Did you read this issue? What did you think? I love the Ultimates. I gotta say, man, as far as Marvel comics coming out on a monthly basis, this is my joint. This is my jam.
Yes, I read it. Yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. This was a really fun issue. It was like, and we haven't really gotten fun with the Ultimates yet. Like we've gotten insightful and we've gotten a lot of like team building and we've gotten grandiose issues, right? Like issue number 4, I think is like a pinnacle for most of us when we were reading this. Mm-hmm. This though, it was a lot of fun because we got all of that, the craziness that is the Hulk, that is the Iron Fist throwing. I love that you call it a death trap, but it was like equal parts of death trap and a tea party at the same time because he didn't give a single shit.
I love like when, the She-Hulk comes in and he lays her out. Rage is a powerful weapon, especially in the right hands. He lays her out. They're all like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "All right, can we sit down for some tea now, or like, what are we gonna do?"
Yeah, so Pinky was up when he was taking a sip too, so he did not give a single shit. Oh, yeah. But yeah, you're right, dude, and such a great call out to the Brubaker and Fraction run of Iron Fist, right? Because it seems like a love letter to both of those things, to the Iron Fist stories, or basically just like the storytelling mechanisms of the 2000s, which in my opinion, I hold very dear to my heart. I think Marvel was like really riding high at that point, but also you had mentioned like the thing that happened with Janet Van Dyne, right? And that was very clearly an homage to what happened in the Ultimates, the original Ultimates team and how she met her demise in Ultimatum. Very clear parallels where I feel like they're saying, hey guys, don't worry. We know what we're emulating. We know what we're trying to bring out with these books. And we know exactly what we're not trying to bring out with these books. So it's like, I think it was like a little, I don't know, a message to the reader like, hey, we got this. Stick around with us. We got this. Don't worry.
Hey, we know you're reading Ultimate X-Men, but don't worry. We got you.
Oh, I got some hot takes about Ultimate X-Men later, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, but this remains like honestly, like I said, my favorite Marvel series. I think the Ultimates series. If you're going to read one, if you had to read just one, it would be this one for me. Ultimate Spider-Man is great, but this is the one. So.
It's the glue that holds everything together.
Absolutely. All right. I think that'll do it for the House of Ideas, but a solid week from them. A couple good books, right? After
I'm happy.
A couple rough weeks, yeah. So shout out to Marvel. Moving on, DC. All right, I'm gonna take it away. Poison Ivy number 27. Now, guys, if you haven't read this book, this is kind of like an awkward issue to kind of jump in at, right? We're starting to build the next story arc and what's going on and all our participating players in that, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously there's character layover from our previous 26 issues, but I would highly recommend going back to Poison Ivy number 1 and riding out that first arc and seeing how you enjoy it. I think that's definitely a strong starting spot. We just really wrapped up that arc in a lot of ways with issue 24. 25 was kind of an anniversary compilation type issue, and then 26 got the wheels rolling on this storyline. But if you're curious about this series, which I highly recommend, I think it's been fantastic. G. Willow Wilson, I think, is criminally underrated, whether it's her time on Miss Marvel or what have you. The book we did last week with Nick, the Feral Trees book, was fantastic. I think she's just such a talented writer. She's really done her thing on this series in more ways than one. It's had incredible covers, had very consistent artwork throughout. And yeah, the Lamia, the little mushroom storyline that wrapped up in 24 was really solid, and put the bow on it in a really a lot of unique and cool ways that I didn't see coming. But it's been a long and winding road to get here. I'm glad that, like, shout out to DC that, they're sticking with books like this, up through the 20s and things like that. It's a rarity these days. So this book has been continually revived and resuscitated by the fans. I think there was a couple times there in the, like, after the second story arc where things kind of got quiet for it, but the fans have always demanded it come back because people are really in love with it, and I think there's the reason for that is the quality of it. It's been strong, start to finish. There's definitely been some filler issues or issues where the story's just kind of pacing itself through, like, that's to be expected. But if you're gonna jump in, go to issue 1, read that first story arc, and see what you think. But that's what I would recommend. Here at 27, we're starting our new thing, and Ivy is basically, after kind of battling Woodrue, essentially Jason Woodrue, for all of my Swamp Thing people out there, on this first story arc. She's kind of been framed for being some type of eco-terrorist here in the second story arc, right? As this Green Knight group that is kind of like wants her to be the figurehead, whether she wants to be or not. And our issue kind of starts with this great interaction with Batman. She's kind of walking outside her apartment, and I just love the thunk she gets with the batarang in the wall that gets her attention. And she has this great, honest conversation with Batman, right? Like, I haven't lied to you about it before. Let me try and handle it and see what these kids are up to. If they're just, trying to make a name for themselves, I'll stop it and dismantle it or whatever. And you can get out of here and act like we never had this meeting. And he's like, what meeting? And he dashes off. And I just love the little conversation between them. It felt well written and authentic to both characters. And she said something like, one thing about the Bat that I'll say is he always keeps it fair, or for the most part he tries to keep it fair. And I thought that was a cool little bit. Anyway, Ivy kind of finds out that these gang of eco-terrorists that have been after Ivy are founded by somebody who saw her battle with Woodrue, which culminated in issue 24, where she defeated him in the swamp, right? And are seeing her like a deity, like a godlike presence, and like this cult is more fervent and a little bit more dedicated than maybe she had first thought, and she's got her hands full, basically, right? Is what it comes down to. There's also like this town that has shown up out of nowhere, after her battle with Woodrue, outside of Gotham, where it seems like, it's an old town, but it doesn't look old, and it looks like they wanted to keep all the water out. So that's a mystery to be solved later on. Essentially, this is an issue where we're just gonna kind of getting our feet under us and getting things established. Nothing crazy going on, but I just wanted to highlight Poison Ivy because I think it's been overall a great run, a book that doesn't get talked about enough. I think it does get talked about here and there, but it's been so consistent for so long. So I just wanted to give some light to it. I like the characters they've established. I like Killer Croc in this, Harley, Janet from HR, like all those side characters that they've kind of created in this world. But I don't know if you've been in and out. Like, have you been on Ivy at all, bro?
No. So I'm really,
okay.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you had kind of prefaced this by saying, I don't know how people feel about this being a jumping on point. And if you're looking for a jumping on point, just go to number 1, right? So let me start by saying I have not read any of the previous issues, right? This was my jumping on point. And I was kind of questioning that right off the jump too, as I'm like going page by page. I'm like, is this really, like, do I understand what's going on? And there
probably should have told you that, huh? That would have been being a good
no. But like sometimes, but here's the thing, like, people ask, they ask us all the time, like, where should I start with a character? Where should I start with a run? Like, when should I start reading? The answer inevitably is always right now. Pick a book, right? It doesn't matter. Is it the best point? I don't know. Maybe. I didn't start reading X-Men with X-Men number 1, though. I can tell you that for damn sure. So
yeah, Amen,
sometimes
brother.
that's the beauty of it, man. Like, just crack open a book, figure out the landscape, get your footing underneath you, and get forward, man. Because like sometimes it's just worthwhile, and I think that this is one of those examples. I think this was worthwhile. I think it was not the best jumping on point, but by
Mhm.
far not the worst. Like, you can figure out what the heck is going on with this story that you so eloquently like described. You know, the kind of the ins and outs with this. Honestly, my only frustration with this comes by way of old Batman right here. I I struggle with this character, and I struggle when he's not the main character in a book. And I say that because I feel like anytime he is an ancillary character, he's one of two things that are equally frustrating. He is the ever knowing, all seeing person that is always 10 steps ahead of every scenario. So he becomes undefeatable. It's like, oh, you're Superman, I have kryptonite. You know, it's one of those things. He's always one step ahead. Or it's this, which I was frustrated by, where he's just like, he swings in like acting like he's Lego Batman, basically, where he's just like, Pamela, I know you did this because it involved vegetables. And she's like, dude, it wasn't me. And he's like, you're right, it wasn't. How stupid of me. And I'm like, wow, Bruce.
Yo.
Like, really? Is this what we're doing now? We're just gonna start throwing out accusations and throwing batarangs. Like, so I was a little bit frustrated over the use of Batman in this, but using Poison Ivy as the main character for a book, and like you had said, we're now 27 issues in on this. I think that's what allows it to shine. Because when you get let's be honest, a B character, right? Like, even if you're looking at the hierarchy of the rogues gallery for Batman, she's like what, 7 to 10 down on that list, right? When you're working with a character like that can kind of live off in its own, on its, on the side, and not really be bothered by editorial and not be bothered by big events and stuff like that. A character like this could honestly be like the Daredevil of the DC universe, where it's like they can like really just let the creative team cook and tell the stories that they want to without a bunch of interference, without a bunch of overlap of a bunch of crap that, quite frankly, we don't need. So with that, I really enjoyed this issue. Like, it made me kind of consider what you had recommended, which is, hey, just go back to issue number 1, because it did enough for me where I was like, I really enjoyed what I got out of this issue. And I think it could be something that's worthwhile, knowing kind of like the pieces that they're playing with right now, and knowing the caliber of a writer that G. Willow Wilson is.
Yeah, amen. Absolutely. The best. Oh, you caught me off guard with that one. I was not ready for that. I know you.
He is Lego Batman. Like, come on, let's.
He is. He is. But I love her narration throughout the conversation. Like I think it's a cool moment. And yeah, like I said, dude, like the art in this is very, very similar, if not the same artist, very similar to the aesthetic we've gotten throughout. So that's what I love most about the book. It's super consistent that way.
Nice.
Real quick, get to the chat. Yeah, before moving on to our other DC book. Chill, what up, brother? Good to see you. DJ Wise in the house. What's up, bro?
What's up,
How are
man?
you? Good
Thanks
to see you, man.
By.
Yeah, absolutely. Chill said Lego Batman is cool. Yeah, absolutely.
He is kind of cool. Yeah.
I love that skit. I don't know where it's from. I saw it with Will Arnett or whatever, where he shows up for it's some like Batman party, right? And he shows up and there's a bunch of other more famous Batmans there, and they're like, Lego Batman doesn't count or something like that, or isn't cool, something like that to him. And he's like, yeah, tell that to your kids, or ask your kids how they feel about Lego Batman. You know what I mean? It's so true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, dude, and now I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get, in the multiverse of people, we didn't get the Zur-En-Arr version of Lego Batman in Chip Zdarsky's run. That's criminal. We need a retcon of all of that. We need the Zur-En-Arr Lego Batman.
Man, I was just watching Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with the kids the last night or the night before, and they had that scene where it went into the Lego Spider-Man world. I was like, man, why hasn't a Batman movie ever done that? That would be so fun and so funny and just a great little comedic moment. But yeah, I wish Lego Batman would get more respect. He deserves it. You know,
he does.
Will Arnett is a personal hero of mine from Arrested Development. So,
oh, dude, I didn't know you're Arrested Development head. Are you kidding me?
God. Don't make me chicken dance right now. Think the guy with
I
the
can't right now.
$1,000 suit? Come on.
This is going to turn into an Arrested Development.
Yeah, we're just gonna start
from now
quoting.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, I promise I won't do anything. But I will talk about Absolute Superman
Let's
#1
do that. We can do that. Yeah.
by Jason Aaron, artwork by Rafa Sandoval. This was a divisive book, right? Like
Right.
I feel
Yes.
like this really like either stoked fires or like really put them out for people. Considering this was the last absolute #1 that we've gotten from the Holy Trinity of DC. I kind of dug it though.
Yeah.
This issue spends a lot of time on the planet Krypton, which I appreciated because I feel like they dedicated a lot of time in developing the background of our character, and we see the differences from the traditional prime Superman as opposed to what we're going to be delivered here with the Superman of the Absolute Universe. And I love that it really takes the time to develop not only his lineage and his parentage and like what's happening on Krypton, but it also like develops the whole class system of Krypton as well. Whereas we see that we knew that Jor-El was part of the science class in the traditional Superman mythos, and that's kind of how he knew about Krypton, was going to explode and getting his child off the planet and everything like that. In this, they totally reconceptualize not just the fact that he is now part of the working class of Krypton, but also the symbolism behind that, like, and we get that a lot, right? Like, even with the Zack Snyder Superman, what does that S stand for? Stands for hope. It can be hokey and cheesy, but I like that they also made the symbol part of the reasoning behind who he is. And let's be honest, that's kind of part of Clark, and that's part of Kal-El and who he is. He stands up for the everyman. He fights for every person out there, regardless of your standing and your wealth and all that kind of stuff, your race, your creed, anything like that. So it harkens and it feels so true to the character that Jor-El is the working class and he's down there in the mines investigating what's happening, and like he's putting himself in danger, even though like he has I think they call them middle management in the book. He has middle management on his ass, basically, like, get out of that mine, whatever, you're done looking at this. We got other stuff to do. And he's in there and like something doesn't feel right. Something's off, something's wrong. And then the shit hits the fan. And obviously we kind of know where things develop. We don't see it, but we know where things are developing. But I love that they took the time to develop this character and make him earnest and kind of show that. Well, a couple things. Show how that would influence Kal-El, but also the other thing too is that we see that Kal-El is there with them, and he's got to be, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that. So he's had way more time on Krypton with his parents and having the influence of his original parents on him, more so than what we've got with the other Superman versions that we've seen, where it was really the Kents that were the influence on him and kind of raised him to be the person that he was. So I love that juxtaposition there too. And you can kind of see as we transition back and forth, we don't spend a terrible amount of time with Clark on Earth. But when we do, it's done so well. It's kind of like the seasoning on your dish, right? It's not the necessary part, but it just livens everything up so much. It's kind of like, it makes it all worthwhile. So when we get to see Clark and we get to see kind of the adventure that he's on and kind of the mission that he's on, where he's trying to stop the same things that basically that his parents were dealing with and working in the mines, when he's doing that on Earth itself. It was so worthwhile. And so I don't know. It was so touching getting to see the influence that his parents actually got to have on him, because it's worthwhile because we get to spend that time where we didn't get to see that. And we know that he didn't get to do that in the Superman that we kind of know and love in the original universe. So this, to me, was by far not the worst. I don't think that any Absolute book has been bad by any means.
Agreed.
But not only that, I don't think that this was the worst of these 3 fantastic issues that we've gotten. Stu, what do you think, though?
I mean, I love all. I hesitate to rank them, right? Because it's like, I think like you said, I think they've all been successes and they've all been great and they've all really delivered on all fronts. Yeah, I think this one did get like the redheaded stepchild treatment, kind of being the last one to come out of the bunch, but it delivered for me. I think the other ones were a little leaner and a little bit more like less exposition-y. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like there's a lot of Krypton, a lot of world building and stuff like that, which was cool here in this one. But like the I don't know, the Batman and Wonder Woman felt like it was a lot more about the character straight out of the jump. You know what I mean? And it felt
Hmm.
like we eventually got there in this one, but I really loved it, dude. I dug the parts with Krypton and the layout of it and how it was structured and the class system and how tough it was for the farmers. And I liked that his father had been a brilliant scientist, been kind of demoted and kept quiet, and he was trying to do the right thing down there in the mines. Dude, this page right here, when I turned it, I was sincerely blown away. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I like was like, whoa, that one really that was it was brilliant artwork. I thought Sandoval really delivered. I love like these two panels on the right, how alien Clark feels when we first meet him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He feels really mysterious, like somebody's been basically pressurizing diamonds down in the mine like all night long. And I thought it was this is very cool as our like very first introduction to him. But yeah, man, I'd love, like you said, his deeper ties to Krypton in this. I like saw the that Kryptonian AI he has with him. I kind of love that relationship and that he's not necessarily at 100%. I love these like peacekeeper um soldiers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are kind of like authoritarian police. Very cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought the world they built was fantastic. Sandoval, I thought really delivered on the artwork. I thought the colors were great. Um, and dude, I don't want to spoil the ending, so but the end, the very last panel, the situation our boy finds him in, I can't wait to see how that relationship develops. You know what I mean? Based on
Yeah.
the historic lore of the character, and that's very cool. I think a very cool twist to it. So
I would agree. And it's the thought that kept crossing my mind as I read this, kind of knowing the growing feeling amongst like the comic book reading community, is that so this was pretty divisive, and I heard more negative than positive. And the negative that I heard was really all revolving around, well, this doesn't feel that much different. It's still Superman is an alien. He comes from Krypton. Krypton blows up. He is now on Earth and he's powered by Earth's yellow sun. And I get that. And like I get that critique. But in the same breath, the same comic book reading community is poo-pooing on Ultimate X-Men. And the conversation that's being had about Ultimate X-Men is like, it deviates too much from what we wanted. I wanted the X Mansion, and I wanted Professor Xavier gathering a group of students. It's like, I feel like it's an unenviable task for a creative team to put out something that is new and exciting, because this is what you're given, right? If you give them what they want, they're not going to be happy with it. If you go so far off to the other side, they're not going to be happy with it. And finding that middle ground, that median, is damn near impossible, right? You could tell a captivating story, but it's a difficult task. And overall, I have to say, I think it's an incredibly admirable job that both Jason Aaron and Peach Momoko, since I brought her up, I think they're both doing a really fantastic job at crafting these stories in very different ways, dealing with new universes that have a lot of meat left on the bone to explore, basically. So I just want to shout out Jason Aaron, because I've been hard on him specifically because I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like I
you
haven't
have
I
jerk.
have not read a good Jason Aaron book in a couple years, and I was due for it. I was ready. I like a lot of, I mean, some of the work he's done in the past has been some of the best work that I've read. Period. End of
Yeah,
story.
man.
But I have not gotten that caliber story yet. So when I read this and the feeling that I walked away with it, I was I felt good about it. I felt good about Jason Aaron. I felt good about his writing, and I can't say that with the last couple books that I've read from him. So I'm excited to be a Jason Aaron fan again.
Amen, brother. That makes me happy. Hell yeah. Dude, like when I was getting back into comics, like I know we've talked about it before, but Scalped
Scalped. That's the
is
one.
and was, yeah, that one remains legendary. Southern Bastards, so many great books. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to see him back in the swing of things. So shout out, Jason Aaron. Moving on, bro. You want to go ahead and knock out Sacrificers number 12?
Oh, yeah. Let's go from a
The end of
hopeful,
I guess, our first
optimistic
arc.
book. Yeah, this is the beginning of the second arc, I believe, or the second,
Oh,
I
is
don't
it?
know, big wave, whatever you want to call it. This, yeah, we're going from an incredible, hopeful, optimistic book, which was Absolute Superman, because we still get, even though it's dire circumstances, we got kind of hopeful Kal-El and Clark. Man, there's nothing hopeful about this at all. Rick Remender did not craft hopeful. Max Fiumara did not draw anything hopeful. There's no joy in this book whatsoever. We are dealing with the ramifications of revenge and how it corrupts you at the very, right down to like the molecular level, right? So we're kind of we bounce back and forth a little bit between our main characters, which are Saluna, the daughter of the gods, who has now been depowered, and Pigeon, who was originally a sacrifice, who has gained the power of the gods and has gone on a vengeful, path of violence, basically trying to seek retribution for what's happened to him and his family and just his circumstances in general. And it just sucks. It sucks so bad watching Pigeon go through what he's going through, right? Because you start this book, we're on issue number 12 now. We started this book as him being our main character, and we've lived with him the longest. And so, arguably, we feel for him the hardest through everything that he's gone through. And in some circumstances, you can sympathize and even empathize with him too. But knowing the mission he's on and the path that he's on, like, it's like you want to rip him right out of the pages and like just hold him back and say, dude, no, this ain't the way. This is not the way that things need to go. You need to figure out a better solution, a better path to making
Yeah.
things
Mhm.
right. But we don't have that power. We're not gods. We're not Rick Remender crafting this story. So he has different plans for us, clearly, because as Pigeon goes on his righteous path, the story all kind of revolves around the violence behind Pigeon, and Pigeon seeks retribution, and he kind of goes after, well, it's not even necessarily Pigeon that goes after him, but the guard. I don't know what title
Yeah.
you would give this character, but the guy that would gather up the sacrifices, basically, and give the revitalizing
What's his name?
fluid
He's
to
got
the
a
gods.
name, and yeah,
He's
what he
got,
calls
yeah,
him.
and it's escaping me in
Yeah.
this moment here, but
Yeah. Same.
but he goes after Pigeon because Pigeon screwed up not only the gods' plans, but they screwed up his plans as well, because he was going to do the same thing that Pigeon accidentally does to gain these godly powers. But the flip side is that the guard has worked for it. He's had these plans in place, and he probably wasn't going to do what Pigeon does. But Pigeon goes on this epic fight. He battles him, and he just emits all of this rage and power. And in doing so, unbeknownst to him, ends up killing his mother, not even knowing his family is there. So not only does he get ripped apart from his family, who has held him further than arm's length, right? Because they knew that he would one day be taken away. And to give him love and joy and family would almost be a punishment, knowing what would happen. And knowing the feelings that he has based around that, and knowing that his sister is already ailing because he's already seen that with his own two eyes. And then knowing what he has done to his family out of the spite and rage and animosity that he has towards the gods and everyone that has wronged him, anyone that has a part to play in gathering the sacrifices, is tremendously heartbreaking. This story is a tragedy through and through. There's nothing to laugh at. There's no joy to be taken from this story. It is 100% pure tragedy, but it's so worth it. What did you think about this issue, man?
Yeah, man, you said it all. I mean, it's like you said, like I still remember like issue 3 or 4 when those kids first went under. They got taken from the happy little playpen and literally having like the happiest, most serene time of their lives, and then they get like they get that literally like sucked out of them with a needle. So it's been
Mhm.
and you saw our boy escape that, and somehow find a way to reverse his fortune. So now seeing this is like where he finally ends up, and what happens to him at the end, I have so many questions for, because it's just like such a wild turn of events, like losing his mom, and then I don't want to spoil it for the other twist, but yeah, it was Pigeon's been my favorite, man. He's been my dude, and I thought this was gonna go another way. I thought he was gonna get his righteous revenge and restore morality, right? I thought there the balance of things, like a sense of good and evil, where it's just turned it into this nasty black spiral. That thing that's in Saluna feels like it's consuming everything. Darkness feels like it's
Mhm.
really taking over the land in this universe, and like there's no stopping it. And I don't know, it's amazing, because you thought this was going to be at one point in time a redemptive arc, truly, and um totally, for Pigeon and all the people that had been wronged by these gods. But now, like, we're seeing that it's just another circle of hell, really,
Yeah.
that even when they get this power, things really just get worse. So it's been incredible, and it does so much to challenge you to think about the typical arcs in some of these books, and how we really view good and evil, and what the true nature of power is. I think these are all relevant questions. Remender has brought up again and again with each issue. So I've loved this, man. And if you Amara, whoo, fantastic
Dude,
job.
having him
Character
back on
design, like,
art.
dude, I put all these slides on the left, like how expressive his eyes are, right? Like,
Yeah.
just such a fantastically talented artist. Yeah, and having him back once again felt great. But yet again, another book, like another successful book that did have a artistic break for a couple issues, but again patched that up well. I think that's another sign across the board for these books that are you might take a break with the traditional series artist, but you don't notice it. And they've done a great
Yep.
job, I think, managing that. So yeah, man,
Absolutely. You
I
do.
love
And
this one.
I'm so glad that you said that, that this book was challenging, because I remember in the back of issue number 1, Rick Remender, before they had any letters for the series to actually run the letter, section of it, he said this whole series is basically put out to challenge you. This is a challenging read, because we have our focal points. We have kind of like, you can't even call them main characters necessarily, but kind of, we see the world through their eyes in certain parts. But at no point can you say that there's heroes and villains of this story. Everyone, you can have compassion for certain characters at certain times, right? And you can feel terrible about certain characters at other times. Like, everyone has a reason to do the things that they're doing and to seek out the things that they're seeking out. Everyone has purpose, everyone has meaning. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but it makes you think, and it makes you question, what would I do in that circumstance? Because I don't know if I would do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, all right, real quick before we get on to our last book of the evening, Brother Joe in the house. My Russian show
Oh,
is over.
Brother
Now,
Joe.
give you your full attention. Thank you. We always appreciate your full attention, bro. How about you give us some of them wins you all are hoarding over there, bro?
Yeah, no
I
kidding. And
didn't
in case
see.
you get bored too, I got a flying elbow drop just ready for you.
Love you, Brother Joe. Hope you're doing well. All right. Last book of the night. Sleeper hit, guys. Want to shout out my man Robbie. This one would not have been on my radar if it wasn't for Robbie. Well, One for Sorrow, number 1. This is from Distillery, one of the few books I really love from them. Written and drawn by Jamie McKelvey, who also did some of the color work along with Courtney Vokey, and letters by Ariana Marr. Dude, this one was this one's heavy lifting for sure, right?
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of world building, a lot of dialogue, a lot of different characters. We're set in early 1900s East End London, though, which I'm always partial to. I felt like I was in an Alan Moore comic. And yeah, we're like, I thought, even though it's a ton of exposition, I did think McKelvey did a great job with these characters, making them sharp, making them interesting, making the dialogue flow well. The artwork is fantastic throughout. It's
Oh,
really,
yeah, it's gorgeous.
and the job he does with the colors as well. I've always appreciated his eye for color. Um, how to sum this one up? Um, we're basically following different elements of the criminal underworld, seedy underbelly of early 1900s London, and basically one character who has interest in events from the past that she's trying to see reconciled in the future. I'm trying to be as vague with this as possible, because I don't like, if I explain it too much, I'm just going to ruin the book, and I don't
Did I tell you that you could talk about this on purpose because I didn't want to like tiptoe over those landmines?
right.
Maybe,
I'm
maybe.
trying to do this in my head without messing it up. But essentially, if you're a fan of McKelvey's art, I think this one's definitely worth checking out. The story surprised me. It is a book that you have to, kind of make a commitment to and make an investment in, because you're going to get a third of the way through it and be, starting to question if you really want to finish it. But I promise, if you give it that get it over the hill, I think the ending is going to pay significant rewards for you. And I think it's the type of book where if you do a lot of the heavy lifting that it's asking you to do in issue 1, issue 2, and issue 3, or the other issues are going to be much lighter work, I would think, and you're
Yeah.
going to be in the swing of things and be able to pick up the rhythm very well. But you know, I liked everybody I met. I'm curious to see more from all of these characters. I want to see where the mystery goes, and learn more about this world, and you know this checkered past for this one individual. But yeah, this one was a pleasant surprise, dude. And I don't know. I feel like I'm doing a horrible job explaining it, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. A Disturley book that wasn't on my radar, but yeah, check it out online if you guys are can't get to it in the store. But give it a read. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the end of it. One for Sorrow by Jamie McKelvey. Bro, how did you feel about it? I'm sure you're gonna do a better job than I did.
Yeah. So again, like I think you described the journey that you have to take with this book perfectly, because as I read this book, it was heavy lifting. I'm trying to think of a better way to put it. That's just, it is what it is. And the reason it's heavy lifting, in my opinion, is because we're working with these three factions within the time frame that we're at. We have the soothsayer, the seance person, which is kind of like the con man of the grifter. We have their story that's going on. We have the upper class, right? And we have some of the things that they're dealing with the a bequeathment, if you will, right? So like the money that's
Yeah,
owed, or like the familial money that could be an inheritance. And then we're working with a third faction, which is kind of like the seedy underbelly, that kind of like they meet within the bar, and some of the bartenders that's end up getting drawn into the story. So you're reading these, and each story has its own intricate parts that to play, and you're kind of trying to figure out, okay, well, we're spending time over here. What does that mean for everything else? And okay, we're back with the seance now. What does that mean? And slowly but surely, as you get through the issue, the connections start being made between all these things, and you think you know what the story means, but then you really, really don't by the end. And when you don't know it, not knowing is somewhat the premise of the book itself. So stick around; it's totally worthwhile. Jamie McKelvey's artwork it's so
fantastic.
expressive. It's
It
like
is.
like these characters, like the things that we talk about for like artists like Greg Land, where it feels very traced and it's expressive, but maybe in the wrong way. Jamie McKelvey is the antithesis to that. Like it is so lively and so realistic, but so expressive in a way that does not feel traced or like or
It
rendered
feels
from
so
something else.
clean.
Yeah, but it's something right out of his head. It does not look like it's something that was modeled or anything like that. But
Yeah, very
so
true.
realistic too. So yeah, Jamie McKelvey, I think he's doing something that is going to be worthwhile. It was a really, really surprising read, and I'm glad that you told me to jump on this book, because yeah, I'm kind of excited for it at this point.
It's so funny too because like in the chat you were like, I'm a third, I'm a little bit through One for Sorrow, and man, this is like you were feeling it. You're like, man, this is a read, but I'm glad you got through it and saw the light, bro.
It's like a
So,
fucking tale of two cities of a comic book, man.
That's so true. It is Dickensian, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah. Yeah. This was more of the art. A little bit of the supernatural in here, guys, which was my favorite part of the story. So make sure you check it out. Yeah, I love McKelvey's use of the pinks and the purples.
Yeah.
And the color throughout. But yeah, definitely a cool little story. I'll check it out. All right, moving on. Our covers of the week, man. I'll let you lead it off. Go ahead, since I have like 4 after this. I mean,
I
wasn't
gonna name names.
Here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna just it's too much goodness out there to do 1 or 2, right? So we're gonna curate, or Stu's gonna curate a multiple choice every week. So yeah, here's Eric's one cover.
I'll give you the one cover because I plopped down hard-earned money to actually buy this. You'll be so proud of me, by the way. I did not pick up a single variant this week. Not a single one.
You got this one though?
I did get this one last week though. So this one, this cover by Matteo Scalera. Dude, he is one of my absolute favorite artists working right now. So when I saw that he was doing a cover for Absolute Superman, one of the most exciting books for me, at least from the realm of DC, I mean, I had to pick it up. And was it a ratio variant? Yes. And did I spend too much on it? Probably. But dude, it's so freaking clean, man. Look at those colors off of the quote unquote cape that Superman has. I loved it.
Yeah, and I love those little fire sleeves look he's got on this design. You know what I mean? I don't know what else.
I like them too, man. People are poo-pooing on that too, but you know what?
They look dope.
Get out of here.
They look dope. I like the solar charge type of thing like that. It's funny. I was listening to I forget who Mark Millar was talking to. I've been listening to a bunch of episodes of his Millar Time podcast lately, and they were talking about how slow Italian artists are. And he was like, except for Matteo Scalera, that guy's a freaking animal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never have to worry about that guy missing a deadline. And I was like, hell yeah. Yeah. Incredible artist, man. Shout out Matteo. That one's beautiful. Great pick, bro. All right. I just wanted to highlight Fiona Staples and her A cover for Saga. She's always bringing incredible work to these covers, man. And this one was no different. This is just one of those ones that sticks with you.
Dude, and if you've been reading the book too, the cover here, the character on the cover, dude.
Right. Like, and I always love when she does the robot characters and the screens. And like, that's always been one of my favorite little parts about the artwork, like how the robots express themselves by the images they choose to put on the screen sometimes. I love that.
Yep.
Martin Morazzo, beautiful stained glass chapel variant for Plastic Man #3. Our esteemed artist from Ice Cream Man. I love that one. I wanted to shout him out. Sebastian Fiumara, dude. This is, speaking of Poison Ivy covers.
Whoa.
I wonder if they're related to Max, by the way. But yeah,
I know. As soon as you said that, I was like, wait a minute.
This one for Action Comics has been phenomenal. But yeah, they've done some amazing Poison Ivy covers in the past, so wanted to shout them out. And finally, Jeff Lemire. I didn't get to read this one, but he's on a new JSA book. He's writing this one. He did a variant for it, so always happy to see a new Jeff Lemire book. I did not know about this one, so this one snuck in on me. I'll have to. Did you get a chance to read it, bro?
I did not. JSA. That's going to be a hard pull for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, brother. But like Lemire, I'll give it a shot. You know what I mean? Anyway, I always love his artwork, especially on like a team thing like that. So that was cool. I just wanted to shout him out real quick. What we got going for this week, man? It's a big week, bro. It is a big week.
It's a big week, but let's be honest.
It's a bittersweet week.
Let's celebrate, all right? We'll talk about it next week, I'm sure, but it's Precious Metal Day, everyone. Like, rejoice.
Although we've come to the end of the road. Man,
like,
what a series.
Dude, just kneel down at the altar of Van Polgeest and Bertram and just worship. Just worship, man. Pay your tithe because they've earned it. Good Lord, Precious Metal, man. We'll talk about it more later, but
yes.
So that's such a brilliant book. And
Yep.
other stuff comes
Best
out
series of the year.
too.
Other stuff.
Other stuff.
Absolute Batman #2 was solid. He's a hater. That's all right though. GI Joe #1. I haven't got to it yet. Helena Winhorn, I hear, has a strong conclusion as well. Another great series that's concluding this week. I heard good things about the Psylocke mini, man. From more than
Same
a
here.
couple.
I'm a little bit excited. Alyssa Wong's done some solid work in the past, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know how long a Psylocke ongoing can possibly go, but check it out.
Yeah. Let me see. Anything else? What else did I grab? Transformers, new Transformers. I think that's it for me. Besides what's on the screen. Yep.
Yeah. Same here.
Cool. All right. Well, what you got coming? What you want to plug for next week, bro?
On the pull list, my weekly comic book review show that just dropped Monday morning, going over all of the books that we discussed today, plus a whole lot more. So, yeah, if you want to hear more about comics, which you should, we're here for a reason, and comics are great.
Right.
So, go see what my thoughts are.
Amazing.
Check it out.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I always look forward to listening to those every Monday. Glad to see the Jason Aaron Faith is back, bro. That makes me so happy.
Hey, I'm happy too.
Yeah, man. That I was listening to it on Monday at work, and I got a little stoked when I heard the Aaron Faith was back. So, yeah, shout out to him. Halloween 3 tomorrow night on Blood Splatter Chatter. Me, Verno, Link doing one I've never seen before, and does not have Mike Myers. Will be on at 9:00 Eastern live. Come hang out with us in the chat or catch the replay. And of course, Absolute Book Club. That's coming up next Wednesday, or no, I'm sorry, next Tuesday, the 19th at 9:00 Eastern, I think, on Scotty's channel. We're going to be going over Absolute Batman 1 and 2, and maybe a couple other Absolute books from that universe. And yeah, catch me, Scotty Fable, a couple other guests talking the Absolute Universe. That'll be it for us this week. Check out, us all over the place. We're always doing amazing things as usual. You got anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here tonight?
No, thank you guys so much for hanging with us. We appreciate you as always coming through on these Wednesday nights here. And yeah, we just hope you enjoy the comics as much as we do.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Have a great week. Reading some great books out there, guys. Be excellent to each other. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.